Halloween is still weeks away, but for NFL Survivor contestants that picked New England, Minnesota, and Baltimore, it was terrifying. We'll debrief about the week and get you ready for week 6 in NFL Survivor Pools and week 6 DraftKings picks, all coming up next. Hello, everyone. I'm Eric Lee.
And I'm Michael Wiley, and we're the Fantasy Football Consultants.
Michael, you know what? We got this $200 free to enter contest that all our viewers are qualifying for from week 1 to week 10. We're halfway through it, and I couldn't be more pleased with our audience. You know, if we looked at the DraftKings picks, Brian Taylor's Devontae Adams pick and Damon Levy's Austin Eckler picks were outstanding. Plus, I really like the value plays that people came up with based on injuries, getting Ricky Seals-Jones, and Alexander Madison came up big with Dalvin Cook out. Keep it up, folks. Michael and I are going to do something really special at the end of the year with at least 2 DraftKings fans who are most active. So you got that to go for, plus the contest. So keep them coming.
Yeah, our viewers, comments are impressive. I love the continued participation. But you know what? Some of them still aren't subscribed. So if you want to, please hit that red subscribe button followed by the bell icon so you don't miss the release of future videos.
All right. So if you are one of those folks that only like NFL Survivor, feel free to use the timestamps because right now we are going into the DraftKings studio and picking a full cash lineup on DraftKings. All right, week 6, Michael. We finally hit the bye week, so a little less players to choose from, but it's all right. We feel like we got a good lineup, and we're going to start at running back. One of our common things, Michael, is the pay up at running back, but without knowing the status of McCaffrey and Cook, and even if they play, not knowing if they'll be on a pitch count, I'm nervous to go there. Kind of like Austin Eckler, but instead, I think we have another idea, though, to save some money. Where are we going to
go? A little bit cheaper and going up against a defense that has been atrocious. It doesn't look like they've been the worst against the rush, but they've actually given up a lot of passing yards to running backs. And we saw Jonathan Taylor get involved in the passing game against the Baltimore Ravens this last week. Man, what a tough loss for the Colts. But I think that the Colts are on their way to put up a lot of points. This is their goal line back. This is their heavy usage back. Yeah, he doesn't get all the passes out of the backfield, but he had a pretty good week this last week and showed once again that he is capable of doing things both behind the line of scrimmage and out of the backfield. So I see him having another really good week this week. And for $6,600, I mean, I just feel like he's a really well priced back. What do you think,
Michael? Sometimes daily fantasy football is simple. All right, look. You notice how Taylor's done great in the last 2 weeks, but not so good in the first 3 weeks. Now, why is that? Look at the scores, folks. I'll give you a moment. Look at the scores. They were behind in all of their first 3 games. That's a terrible game script for Jonathan Taylor. You don't want Nyheim Hines in the game. They were in control the last 2 weeks. I know Baltimore just had that huge comeback, but most of the game they were ahead. So what can we expect this week? Well, we have their 9.5-point favorites at home, 26 implied total. Love Jonathan Taylor this week. Where are we going to go from here? We like Jonathan Taylor's situation. You know whose other situation I like a lot this week? And he's cheaper. How about Darrell Henderson? Folks, he's definitely back, and he is the featured back after coming back from an injury. I know Sonny Michel would get some carries, but most of them will go to Darrell Henderson. He's a home favorite, 10.5 points, and a 29 implied total. Playing at home against the Giants. The Giants offense is just been riddled with injuries. We're going to see some turnovers and 3 and outs. Going to be a lot of opportunities here for Darrell Henderson. Michael, what are your thoughts?
Yeah, my only concern is that Sonny Michel might, take a couple of the goal line carries, but we haven't really seen that yet. So no reason to expect that. But yeah, he's going to have a good fantasy week. Really high floor here.
Come on, people. I'm not just talking to Michael. I'm talking to everyone. Cool it with the fact that we get another running back. Unless you have Najee Harris, the days of just one back are over. Ask yourself, are you happy with the 18 and 19 touches that Henderson had the last 2 weeks? I know I am. And I think the pie is going to get even bigger this week because of game script. So don't worry about it, Michael. Don't sweat, Sonny.
Sounds good.
Yeah. All right. Come at me next week when Michelle scores 2 touchdowns. All right. So here's the nice thing. So we can move to wide receiver. There's no one who's happier for me than for Mike Williams than me. 7,200 and now 8,100. He's way too expensive. And even though I like him in this Baltimore game, I'd rather save $1,700 and get the guy who, by the way, is third in wide receivers in targets this year at 10.6 a game. Give me Keenan Allen.
Yeah, this is amazing to see the flip of the script. I think part of this is because Mike Williams is finally getting the attention he deserves. He is a special talent, arguably as or more athletic than Keenan Allen. But Keenan Allen is the possession receiver for this team. The other thing to note in this game is, Baltimore will run the ball and slow this game down. Chargers have been playing in these shootouts. Could be a shootout again, but in passing situations, often when the game doesn't get slowed down, and I see Baltimore trying to slow down the game to try and slow down the Chargers offense. So I just think it's safer from a pricing perspective to go with Keenan Allen, who's that possession receiver.
Don't forget we're on DraftKings, full point per reception, and Allen is just going to, pack in the reception. So I love this pick at this price.
So I'm going to go to the wide out on this other team. So I'll kind of ignore the PPR comment that you just made, but similar pricing in a situation where we're seeing Joe Burrow to Jamar Chase just really feel the connection that they had back in their college days. Jamar Chase is a big game receiver, high ceiling, but now a high floor as well. Look at the targets he's getting. He's obviously racking up the yards as well, and he's getting in the end zone consistently. I'm surprised that he hasn't been priced higher yet. It's going to happen soon enough, so let's keep putting him in the lineup until that happens. What do you think?
Yeah, they're working their way up. They're working their way. He got, after his monster game last week, they bumped him $900. But yeah, give me Jamar Chase. I think this game has big shootout potential. This Detroit defense, I'm telling you, folks, is not good. And one of the reasons that they look average against the pass is the fact that they've been blown out and teams' game script have run against them. I don't think the Bengals, who are only 3-point favorites at Detroit, are necessarily going to blow them out. I think it's going to go back and forth. And I think we get a floor from a guy here who can also give you a big ceiling. I think at this point, I think it's important to see, is there a guy that we think that we can get as a bargain? And there's a couple of guys that we want to shout out for you to at least watch the news, because it's dependent on injuries. And to appreciate this, we're going to need to go to the New York Giants slate. Do you notice something about their wide receivers? Galladay's doubtful, so he's almost certainly not going to play. Shepard and Slayton haven't played since week 3. So, they are very, very questionable. Kadarius Toney, the guy who's been the benefit of all these injuries, he hurt himself at the end of the game. He's questionable to play with an ankle and a foot injury. So who is the beneficiary of all of this? John Ross. Michael, give this guy an opportunity in a game script that I think that they're going to be way behind at only $3,100, $100 off the minimum. if these four guys, if three of them are not playing, John Ross is a definite start. And oh, by the way, Saquon Barkley, who catches a lot of passes out of the backfield, is going to be out for this game. A lot of opportunity potentially for Ross.
Yeah, they still don't know if Daniel Jones is going to come out of this concussion protocol and play, which obviously affects any receiver's value on the Giants, but they're going to be behind. They're going to have to throw the ball. John Ross is a speedy guy. He's a proven guy. Mike Glennon he'll get him the ball if he's in the game. And I think we'll see a lot of touches there. So maybe not a touchdown, but plenty of receptions.
And you just can't beat that $3,100 price unless you go $3,000. Let's go to the Baltimore game and pick up Rashad Bateman. Michael, we've been waiting patiently for Rashad Bateman to make his NFL debut. He was a first round pick for the Baltimore Ravens. Man, I watched the end of that Monday night game. The Ravens decision tree is basically Andrews and Hollywood Brown. That's really all they have. If they can get a third threat in Bateman at only $3,000, I like John Ross a lot more if those guys are all injured, but he's a potential pivot play if you know for sure he is going to play.
Yeah, and someone to keep an eye on for the next several weeks as well.
All right, but we're gonna have John Ross in this lineup. All right, Michael. Speaking of Monday night, talk to me about tight end. I think that there's one that's interesting here.
Yeah. So for those of you who watched the Monday night game, as Eric mentioned, Mark Andrews was actually, I think, the first choice. He got both those two touchdowns at the end of the game to put it in overtime, as well as the 2-point conversions, and was a big target towards the end of the game. I think he racked up 140 yards, or I can't remember exactly how many yards that he racked up.
I'm going to guess 147.
Thank you.
Just have it in memory, and it's on the screen.
And so I see him having a big week. And $5,200, I think he's still underpriced. The pricing, I think, came out before the Monday night game. So
you hit it, Michael. This guy would have been about $900 more, my guess is, if they played this game in the main slate last week. So
yeah, and Darren, I think what's going on in Las Vegas right now, I think there's just nothing that you want to really bet on with the Raiders. It's just a really tough situation, and Travis Kelce is just way too expensive. Looks like he's a little bruised up. So I like Mark Andrews a lot better than the folks right behind them, and at the price, I think this is an easy choice.
And for Andrews, he plays a Charger defense that is awful against tight ends, and overall have struggled this year. So I think this is a big shootout potential. It's a 50.5 over under, and specifically Baltimore has an implied total of 27. So I want to be all over that. Michael, I think this makes sense now to talk QB. We've been a little disciplined about our pricing. So in the past, we've paid down. What do you want to do this week?
Well, I'm going to also take advantage of the fact that pricing came out before the Monday night game. And I think we're going to go with a guy who's $1,000 less than Pat Mahomes, not quite 900, in this shootout game that you just mentioned. Lamar Jackson, obviously had his best game of the season this last week. Has, because of the limited passing targets, it's not assured that he's going to have a very comfortable passing game, but the Chargers have been weak against the pass. Lamar Jackson will create, even if he does fumble on the goal line, which is just amazing. But he's a fantasy dream, right? And so at the $900 savings, I do see Pat Mahomes having a big game this next week, but I think you got to take advantage of the savings. What do you think, Eric?
Yeah, you already commented that he's a fantasy dream. He's a fantasy dream because he's a dual threat. Look, if you just cover up the name and don't think about him, yeah, look at these passing yards for the last 3 weeks. You like that. You go, wow, this guy is a gunslinger. But you also have to remember depending on the game script and the scenario, he is going to take off and run either a lot or a lot. So either way, we really love the floor of Lamar Jackson. Excited to get him into our lineup. All right, so well, let me get him into our lineup officially. All right, let's talk flex. And you know what? I want to do flex last. Let's talk about a defense. And I have a defense, Michael, that we're going to continue our tradition of paying down, but I have no idea why this defense is so cheap. Now, it's kind of hard. You say, what are you talking about, Eric? Didn't you just say a second ago that the Detroit Lions defense stinks? Yes, but that's for real NFL. I'm talking about fantasy. In this game for fantasy, the Lions are at home. The Cincinnati Bengals have a below average offensive line, and the 11 sacks that the Lions have this year, that's 13th in the NFL. That's better than average. For a defense that's only $2,100, that's a good deal. FanDuel has the Lions as an average defense, where DraftKings has them at the bottom. I'm happy to get the Lions in at this price.
Yeah, I agree. I mean, it's we have to pay down, and this is by far the best bargain there is.
All right. So what does this leave us with? It leaves us with $6,400. So Michael, that leaves us $6,500 in the flex. There's a lot of very interesting options with Antonio Gibson, Joe Mixon, who's a bell cow going against the suspect Detroit Lions defense. You know, Kareem Hunt has become a very valuable back down there in Cleveland, because not only is he getting carries and getting a lot of receptions, he's starting to get the goal line carries over Nick Chubb. But I'm not going with any of those guys. I'm going to go with what I think is the better version of Kareem Hunt in DeAndre Swift. Okay, I know that Jamal Anderson is going to get carries away from him.
Jamal Williams, yeah.
Sorry. Thank you. Jamal Williams will take carries away from him. But look, he'll get his share, and I love how he gets so involved in the passing game, specifically for DraftKings. I like this guy. I think this is going to be a shootout. I think he can take advantage being at home against a weak Cincinnati defense.
Yeah, he's a special talent. He's super quick, right? But I think Jamal Williams is impressive as well, but not DeAndre Swift. And so I agree. I think of those options, this is the one who's going to have the most well-balanced. So really, really high floor. Like him a lot.
Besides, I like picking running backs whose last name describes him well. He is right. Swift. All right. And that is our cash lineup. Now, normally we give you a stack for GPP, but guess what, folks? I think we're giving you the entire GPP lineup. I think you can put this lineup in GPP. It has a lot of correlation already in it. Now, normally we don't like to do that for cash, but we really do like the value of Jackson to Andrews, and we like Swift and the Lions independently as another stack. And guess what? For GPP and GPP only, if you want to take Ross out and put Bateman in to get a double stack, we're okay with that, as long as you're absolutely sure that Bateman is going to play. So that's GPP. Let's go into the studio and talk NFL Survivor. All right, Michael, did you see your doctor yet? I mean, I had to get my ticker checked for picking New England, who was behind the entire game. I was thinking, oh no, I lost, but Michael's going to win. And then at the very end, I was like, Michael's going to lose because you picked Minnesota.
Yeah, no, I fortunately, I was feeling pretty good. I didn't have the heart troubles the whole game. It was just at the end. But so yes, I thought you were done for. I could not believe how well Houston looked in that game, especially after New England took care, really had a chance to beat Tampa Bay the week before. But the game was in Houston, right? So you have to deal with that. And New England really is not that strong an offensive team. But Minnesota, really? I mean, what happened there? I mean, they just basically said, hey, we don't want to win the game. And then at the very end, they just took the heart of the Detroit fans and kicked that last minute field goal.
My apologies to all Detroit fans. I mean, this game and then the Raven game earlier. Oh, And I have no sympathies for the Ravens. You had that game against the Lions, and then Monday night, I mean, an unbelievable comeback. They made that comeback despite the defense being absolutely unable to stop the Colts in the fourth quarter, but through some horrible field goal kicking and horrible defense, the Ravens pulled off the comeback.
Yeah, I watched a little bit of what was going on with the kicker. It looked like there was a real issue with their kicker this game, and that was really the difference in the game. Although really, just crazy that the Ravens were able to come back. And I think it shows that they're a good team. I think it also shows that we learned that the Colts are going to have probably a pretty good second half here. So.
Yeah, and boy, is it an overtime coin toss been ever so big? It's just like whoever got that coin toss is going to have a huge advantage. All right, so let's talk about week 6. So Michael has survived. I have survived the first 5 weeks. A lot of people have survived in their NFL Survivor Pool. So where do we go from here? So here are the games we think you should be considering. The Rams are 10.5-point favorites at the New York Giants. The Colts are at home, 9.5-point favorites over Houston. And we have 2 touchdown favorite road teams, Kansas City and Tampa Bay, playing at Washington and at Philadelphia, respectively. And then, Michael, if you want to go out on a limb a bit, you can take Pittsburgh, 4.5 over the Russell Wilson-less Seattle Seahawks, or Green Bay, 4.5 at Chicago. We got 2 winless teams that aren't represented here. We've got Jacksonville and Detroit. All right. But they're at home and they're facing Cincinnati and Miami. And I don't trust Cincinnati or Miami. What about you, Michael? You were saying Cincinnati wasn't too bad a few weeks ago. Will you pull the trigger on Cincinnati at a winless Lion team?
No, I mean, I think this Detroit team has shown that their offense can put points on the board, and that's scary. And so even though I think Cincinnati is a decent team, that would be the game I'm most afraid of. The games that you mentioned before, I would guess and be comfortable on a straight up, betting on each of those games, thinking that they're going to win. But after the palpitations that we had this last week, I want to go with a sure bet, and there's only one that I feel like is a really sure bet.
Yeah. Okay. So we're gonna dismiss Pittsburgh and Green Bay. I don't trust Pittsburgh. I don't know how good they are. My instinct is they're not that good, and so I'm not going there. And I'm not picking Kansas City and Tampa Bay. They have just too much future value and not a slam dunk win this week on the road against Washington and Philadelphia, who has shown some life. I'd rather pick them when they're at home against even worse teams. So, and what I love about Kansas City and Tampa Bay, it's not like they just have one good game or 2 good games. 4 good big games by Kansas City where they're big favorites in the future, and 5 for Tampa Bay. So let's just wait. So that brings it down, Michael, to one of 2 teams. It's either the Rams or the Colts this week, which, by the way, where most people are going, my pick was supposed to be the Indianapolis Colts before I saw how Houston played and how the Colts played last week. So I'll talk about that game in a minute, but let's talk a little bit about the game I'm going with. Let's go with the LA Rams. Why do I want to pick the Rams against the Giants? Well, because they're going to win. And why are they going to win? They're coming off a mini bye. They didn't play since last Thursday after beating up on the Seahawks. So they're a 4-1 team, rested, going against a 1-4 New York Giants team that, Michael, I don't know if anybody's left on this team to play. Saquon Barkley, by far their best player, is definitely out. And Kenny Galladay is out. And a whole bunch of guys are questionable. It's not sure if Sterling Shepard or Darius Slayton will play. They haven't played since week 3. Rookie Kadarius Toney may be out, and their quarterback Daniel Jones is in concussion protocol. So all this spells real disaster for a team, again, that's 1-4 and has already lost to two sub 500 teams, Washington and Atlanta, when they were healthier.
Yeah, I think my only comment here is that the Rams have a lot of future value. They have a game, they got Detroit at home next week. They're on the road at Houston the week after that. And then they got Jacksonville in week 13 at home. So the Rams, man, what did they draw up a nice schedule or what? And to get the Giants when they're injury riddled. The game's in New York, so we have to take that into account. Daniel Jones could play, and Glennon has had flashes of brilliance in the past, but that was a long time ago. And Devonta Booker is not a horrible backup option for Saquon Barkley. But what's challenging is making adjustments on the fly, like they're going to have to do. And like you say, that mini bye is a huge thing. Indianapolis, on the other hand, yeah, okay, they I think are going to have a nice run.
Look, before we get to Indianapolis, let me wrap up, since I'm picking the Rams, and I'm going to ask you to I'm just can't wait to find out where you're going. But maybe you want to talk about the Colts first. But I want to respond about that. The two biggest reasons to not pick the Rams this week is not that the Rams are going to lose. It's that, do you want to fade the public because they're the most popular pick? And Mike Michaels said his future value. Look, I'm not worried about the fact that in the next 2 weeks they play Detroit and Houston at Houston, right? I got picks. I'm covered for the next 2 weeks. I'm all right. But folks, there's a cost to making this pick. Week 13, Michael mentioned it. Jacksonville is by far the best game this week. I can replay this. If I make it to week 13, I'll go, man, I wish I had the Rams. But you know what? That's week 13. That's you know what? That's past Thanksgiving, I think. I am going to pick the game that I am most confident with this week. So I'm going with the Rams, and I'm going to tell you why I'm concerned about the Colts. You tell me what you're thinking about that Colt game.
Well, for me, it's the kicking situation, right? So okay, Houston showed some strength, but I think that New England figured that out, and Indianapolis would take advantage of that. I'm not really too enamored by the future value of the Colts. Yeah, they've got a couple of games in the future that could be good, but so that's not a reason to not pick the Colts, is their future value. But this kicking game situation, and Carson Wentz, still, I'm not that confident in him individually, and he obviously is the biggest part of that team, even though they have some great options. And so I just feel so much better about the Rams game this week because of the injuries for New York. That is why, plus the kicking situation in Indianapolis. What do you think?
Everything you said, Michael, but I'm going to add to it. I'm worried about this defense. I am truly worried about the Colt defense. They have two cornerbacks who are in concussion protocol, Xavier Rhodes and Andrew Sendejo. And definitely out is their safety, Ibrahim Campbell. And you have to remember, they are coming off a short week. They played Monday night. And when you're in concussion protocol, you have to go through several things. So it makes it even more unlikely that they're going to play than if they were coming off a normal week. They absolutely could not stop the Ravens at the end of that game. And they couldn't stop them for a lot of the game because the Ravens kept turning the ball over. Like, I was the biggest critic of Davis Mills. But think about who they played. They played Buffalo, a very good defense, and they played Carolina this year, a good defense. And then they played New England, a solid defense. We go to the Colts, a horrible defense in relative to those teams. So do I think that the Houston could score? I don't think it's just, all this was a fluke. Look at how tough the defenses that Houston has faced. Now they face the Colts. I think Houston will put points on the board. I think, as Admiral Akbar said in Star Wars, it's a trap. This game is a trap. So I'm a little worried. And so I got to go with the Rams. What's your official pick, Michael?
Yeah, as much as I hear you on the week 13, I'm a little nervous about that week, but I have to go with the Rams this week to have a less stressful weekend than I had this last week. So I'm going to go with the Rams.
All right, two Rams picks. We will see how they work out next week. And until then, take care, and we'll see you next time.
Bye-bye.
Please check out these videos that are on the screen.